They're drug dens. They're drug dens. And they've made everything worse.
The federal opposition leader was full-throated in his denunciation of supervised consumption sites.
What will you do around safe injection sites across the country?
I will be closing them. We will close safe injection sites next to schools, playgrounds, anywhere else that they endanger the public.
The provincial Conservatives also raising concerns later that day, suggesting the sites have a place, but they're not doing enough for long-term recovery.
We want every single one of these sites to be transformed so that they can also be places where people can be guided to proper health care and with intake into things like detox treatment and recovery. So, we actually agree with Pierre Poilievre. I listened to that interview. I think that it's important that we recognize that there have been, terrible things that have been associated with some sites.
Opposition to these sites has sometimes been intense. In Vancouver, one site's operation led to a lawsuit over alleged mismanagement causing distress in the community. In Richmond, protests boiled over at packed council meetings when municipal leaders voted to call for a site, which health officials claimed was never on the table. Sturco says she's hearing of other sites causing problems, including from a Powell River dentist neighboring one site.
People defecating on his property, injecting drugs, ripping up the floorboards of the office's deck because they believe that there was drugs dropped down there.
For his part, the federal immigration minister pushed back on Poilievre's stance.
See, this is a guy who does not care about the parents in question, does not care whether the people that are using these drugs live or die.
He says his party will keep sites open as a general principle, while admitting some, including one in his own Montreal riding, need improvement. BC's Minister for Mental Health and Addictions, Jennifer Whiteside, was not made available for an interview. She said in a statement both harm reduction and treatment options are needed, adding, quote, supervised consumption and overdose prevention sites have and continue to save lives every day, and they also offer low-barrier connections to treatment and other services people need. A political scientist says these sites are shaping up to be a wedge issue in provincial and federal elections expected within the next 18 months.
There's a way of sort of heating up the rhetoric, though, I think, that's been going on that is definitely kind of intentional, I think, as a way of sort of framing us against them in terms of political choices.
Helen Jennings with Mom Stop the Harm has a different perspective on the sites. She lost her two sons, Ryan and Tyler, to drug overdoses. Tyler was using toxic drugs alone.
I think it's a really sad statement of how our politicians feel about this part of our community, that their lives are not worth saving.
Sturco says her party wants to keep the sites away from parks, playgrounds, and schools, and says there needs to be a focus on treatment. Jennings agrees some sites could be moved from inappropriate places, but argues a robust treatment system is a long way away.
So that's what we're trying to do, is keep people alive until we have options of recovery out there for them.
Liam Britten, CBC News, Vancouver.